Welcome to Bourbon and Badgers, the podcast, live in Studio 77 from Gastonia, North Carolina, and Calabash, the voice of the uncommon people.
Started laughing. I ain't even said anything yet.
I saw the numbers. I started fucking laughing.
Well, I can't hide from you guys anymore.
That's always going to be a joke.
I can't hide from you guys anymore. But yeah, there's a counter, and they're waiting to make sure you hit the counter all right. Right. Hey, I'd like to give a shout out to Dylan Reynolds from Shooter Express. He's the voice you hear on our intro now. Man, he killed it. Remember we had him in for a couple of podcasts, him, a couple of guys.
Yep.
So I went back and done a soundbite of that and put that as our intro.
Nice.
Yeah, we'll play it for what it's worth. We may change it at some point, but he actually does a good job.
He does.
It puts me in the mind of like a 1930s radio announcer.
Yep.
You can.
Oh man, we got a couple things going on, man. So hey, look at this, y'all. I got a date tonight.
Yeah, look at you guys.
I'm telling y'all, are so
a little
cute.
cozy too. We have to kind of lean in.
You guys are kind of close.
Well, I'll tell you, we tried a couple of things prior to the podcast to get this camera angle to where you can see both of us. We look so small though compared to what you guys are going to be. So I got a few drinks into Jerry here, and he loosened up. So now here we go.
There you go.
So you really got a date for the night.
Yeah, man. And I'll tell you, I'm going to introduce him. We cannot give him a nickname. He's already got one.
Well, that's good. What usually
Okay, well, that's fine.
Yeah, Rebel. What's going to veer right into this podcast?
Yeah, the Rebel.
Yep. I like it.
Nice.
So introduce Rebel. Rebel, how are you doing, sir?
I'm good, and you?
Doing great. And you want to tell our listeners what our topic's going to be of the night?
We're going to talk about cryptids, in specific Bigfoot, Sasquatch.
Well, it was his accent. If you can't tell Reggie, I am a cryptozoologist.
You just said it right for the first time.
He says I always say zoologist. I don't say
do. You do.
I am a cryptozoologist. And so is Jerry. Jerry, a.k.a. Rebel, is a cryptozoologist.
I'm looking forward to this because you know how I am about stuff like that. So I'm looking forward to this.
Oh, yeah. He leans more to the expert side where I lean more toward the, scream like a little girl and slam the door and run behind hide under the bed side.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm like this goes.
That was a good podcast, guys. I appreciate it.
If he gets mad at me, he can just slap you. So I'm down with that.
All right, Jerry, just a little back. Go ahead, sir.
Have him give some background and stuff. Yeah, let's hear about it.
Yeah, a little background on you there, Jerry.
You mean biographical?
Hey, we've had some pre-podcast pours.
Yeah, we've had some drinks, so.
I was raised outside of Bessemer City. Stayed in Bessemer City until I turned 18. And I told my dad I'm going in the Army and I won't be back. Spent 4 years in the Army, 9 more in between the Reserves and National Guard. My wife's a retired deputy sheriff, and we have 3 kids.
Yeah, now you see that Rebel he's supporting. He's got an airborne shirt on.
He does.
See that?
Yep. Thank you for your service. Rebel.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And also, magistrate. He's a magistrate for Gadsden County. That's how we actually first ended up meeting. We take all the bad guys before Rebel.
Yeah. Nice.
12 years of that.
So how in the world did you go from working for the Gadsden County court system to being into Bigfoot?
Oh, I was into Bigfoot way before I was a court employee.
Oh, shit. Wow.
When I was a little kid.
Well, I'll tell you now, am I saying it right, guys? Hound Dog is a non-believer.
Skeptic.
Well, skeptic.
Skeptic.
And there's nothing wrong with skepticism.
Well, look at it. You look at it. Look at that. There's all kinds of things wrong with it. Just look. What about you, Rodinator? What are your thoughts on Bigfoot?
These days with all the UFO information coming out and all that stuff being revealed, who knows? It's, one side of me says, how do we not have one of these big bastards already, on a table somewhere? And I don't know if we do. Jerry will let us know. But how do we not be able to see them? How are we not able to, that type of thing is me. So a lot of questions, but these days I don't doubt anything because a lot of things that I didn't think were true are starting to expose a lot of things that have been hidden from us, especially from the government side. But
I agree with that with all these UFO documented UFO things going on now. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Well, Rebel, I'll tell you, and long the thing what you guys say, we're filling your plate.
Okay,
is what we're doing. Talking to a good buddy of mine down side of the mountain here today. We're talking about the very thing, talking about the podcast going on tonight about Bigfoot. And he is a firm 100% believer Bigfoot is an alien.
See,
I can understand
there you
that.
go.
a lot of people out there.
And that's why you can't get a hold of them, right? Like just like the aliens, like they come and go, drop them.
He gets beamed
Well,
up.
I tell you, I'd like for him to meet up with him, give him a little better phone service. That's what I'd like up here inside the mountain.
Yeah.
What are we drinking tonight, Hound Dog?
We were drinking Jim Beam White Label, the original Jim Beam.
All right, we all got our little little mixers. Well, I tell you, Rebel, the reason we have these little mini bottles now, or airplane bottles, is we were all in one studio. We each just take turns buying a fifth, and they get But now being separate, man, you're almost buying a fifth of liquor every week. Got a little expensive,
Right.
Where's the give me the pour sound, that dude? Give me the pour sound. There you go.
Well, who's the producer here?
I don't know. I need it on time. You need a cue? What do we got to do?
Well, I would like to say if people actually see on YouTube now see me looking around and stuff, and believe me, if you know me, you know I can push buttons.
Oh yeah, regularly.
I got 4,000 buttons and things I've got to maneuver here. So
Rim
if you
shot.
looking around, yeah, that's what I'm doing.
All right. So Jim Beam, White Label. Of course, the distillery is Jim Beam. It's from Kentucky. Of course, it's 40% alcohol by volume, so 80 proof. The composition is going to be 75% corn, 13% rye, 12% malted barley. So I guess a low rye. So it's aged 4+ years, straight bourbon. About MSRP price points about $15 to $20 for 750 milliliters.
Okay.
So what do we smell, guys? What do we got?
All right, let me go and say up front, look at this. Now, Rebel and I had a few pre-podcast pours, just hanging outside the mountains here looking around and stuff.
I got you.
He's got to drive home. I think all these things about us buddying up kind of got him scared. So he's not going to sample anything. He's not drinking anything else. He's
You heard
drinking
about
coffee.
Shootout Mountain. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
Shootout Mountain.
I did.
He said, "How'd he get his name?" I said, "You hang around, big boy, you'll find out."
Yeah. Shots fired later.
All right.
Yeah.
So on the nose, I'm definitely getting the rye.
Yeah, I get pepper right on the nose, pepper
I'm getting
and
a lot of burn too for an 80 proof.
ethanol. Yeah.
Yeah, it's on the nose should be starts off with a little bit of honey, roasted peanut, red apple, apricot, cinnamon. I might got
Cinnamon.
that.
Yep.
Yeah, some floral and some licorice.
Licorice.
All right. It doesn't feel overly nutty, quote unquote. Nutty.
Hey,
the
I'm
word
not getting
used.
licorice. I'm getting bourbonish. Get it? Licorice. It's not funny if we got to explain the joke, is it?
No, you got to hit a button for a rim shot because no one knows it's a joke because it wasn't good.
Well, you're just not drunk yet. That's what it is.
That's true. I've been hanging out in Shootout Mountain all afternoon.
It's kind of flat, dry.
Oh, we are tasting it now.
Oh yeah,
We got cameras now, Hound Dog. You can see that.
I'm 2
Well,
swigs in. It's got some good legs though. You getting legs on yours?
Yeah, it is good legs.
It's got some good legs.
Yeah, and then normally this is going to be a mixer. It's bottom shelf price. I think it's like $17.99 for a fifth
Yeah.
Yeah.
here in North Carolina.
So flavors start with a nutty honey, roasted oak, caraway seed, vanilla, toasted grains.
What's a caraway seed?
It's the
I'm just
opposite
reading,
of
brother.
carry in.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's not
And,
carry out.
it's a caraway, cinnamon and apricot.
Okay. Let's see
Yep.
what I get here.
All right, now, Rebel, I'm gonna blow in your face. You tell me what you getting.
Okay.
Well, at least it's at your face.
Yeah, West Virginia.
It's kind of uneventful for me. It's more of a
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's kind of
it's bourbon. Yeah.
That's
yeah.
what I
Well,
give it.
you throw it in. You throw it as a mixer. To get your get that little spice out of it, and to get your kick from alcohol.
Yeah, there's nothing that outstanding, and there's nothing bad about it. It's just kind of middle of the road for me.
Okay,
It kind of finishes
$17.99.
dry to
It
me.
does.
Kind of like that other one the other day.
Yeah,
The last
yeah.
one we did. It was
What
a
if that's the
dry, just
rye? A
stops.
lot of our ryes, I think we've said it finished kind of dry.
Yeah, it is kind of dry.
This is only 13% though, right? That's low rye, right?
it? It
For
is
your
low rye.
experts out there?
It is a low rye.
That's
And I
a
tell
low
you too.
rye.
Now I did pick up another bottle at the ABC store today, man, and I can't remember the name of it, but it's 4 grain, and they make a sister bourbon to it, which is a wheated bourbon. I thought of you, Hound Dog.
Oh yeah.
But it has the oak, wheat, corn, and barley. I can't remember the grain bill on it, but I can't remember the name. I've forgotten, left it in the car actually.
Oh,
All right. So slow. What do we got here? We got a daily drinker. How you going to rate? Now, 1 through 10, 1 being the absolute dog shit, 10 being awesome. If it's a 7, that means it's a daily drinker, which means it checks all the boxes, including price point. What do you say, Slow?
4.
4.
Yes. Jim Beam makes a good product. Jim Beam makes the Knob Creek smoked maple. They make all the Knob Creek stuff. But yeah, as far as Jim Beam goes, this is definitely entry level mixer.
Hound Dog?
I'm going to say a 3. I don't really care for it.
Okay.
Always got to outdo me. He's always going to outdo me.
He's going to lowball this thing.
Well,
I'm going to leave it at like I said, it's the middle of the road for me. I'm going to leave it 5. It's just not great, not bad. It's just kind of right in there. And the price point for me is good because I'm a frugal bastard. So
that's a 4.
Jerry, what'd you get from the smell? Anything, brother? You got any comments on it, brother?
I have significant experience with Jim Beam, especially during the military days. And
Can I
I
get
can
the name
say
Riddle?
that it definitely serves its purpose.
Serves its purpose. Okay.
And it still smells the same.
Yeah, it's going to get you where you want to be, where you want to go.
Okay. There you go. There
It's
you
not
go.
big on the flavor profile.
There you go.
And not to say anything bad about Jim Beam.
No, not
All right.
either.
It's just not my thing.
Mm-hmm.
Jim Beam or just this?
I like y'all.
No.
He's talking about the podcast.
Neither of us named Jim.
Yeah.
If you want drinks in me, Hound Dog, I'll be Jim if you want me to be.
We'll have to
All right, let's talk Bigfoot, man. Let's talk Bigfoot.
Come on. Let's stop pussyfooting around. Let's get
Do
into
we
it.
need to go ahead and break Rebel in and find the all-out answer to the question we've been hanging over this podcast for months?
Let her rip.
Let her rip.
You want me to do it? You want to do it, Rodinator?
I can do it if you want me to.
Go
ask
ahead.
him.
Go ahead, ask him.
Jerry, we did a podcast and a story of a woman who was out camping. And
I knew you'd get that, Hound Dog, when we start talking about it.
and this woman apparently came back from camping impregnated.
It was all girls trip.
All girls trip. And the husband was none too happy. And she explained to him that she was sexually assaulted by, wait for it, a freaking Bigfoot. And she's carrying Bigfoot's baby. So now, number one,
We have that sound.
that was a little bit late. Though. See, I didn't even ask you for the freaking button. I just did it myself. So can you elaborate on with your experience, since you're more of an expert than any of us? Has that ever come across? Have you ever heard anything like that? And have you heard of this story? It's kind of like
I
Slow
have
was
heard
saying,
of the story.
it's kind of
And
your
may I
neck of
add-
the woods or something, right?
I have heard of the
And
story.
may I add, the husband said he can't wait to meet up Bigfoot because he had some words for him.
I bet he does.
Help.
Yeah.
So,
Child support.
yeah.
Twigs and berries every freaking Friday. You better not be late. Send the sheriff after you. I know a magistrate. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's right. We have connections now, man.
Hell yeah, we do. We got everybody here. But
Okay,
no,
that's
seriously, any information on that, Jerry?
Yeah, you'll find stories in especially Native American lore where the women would be kidnapped and never seen again.
Oh, okay.
And especially out west in Northern California, Washington, Oregon, Western Canada. There's a lot in the Native American lore related to that type of thing.
Really? Wow, that's wild. So kidnapped, never seen again. So not like when if a Bigfoot grabs onto you, you're never seen again. Usually, is that what I'm getting?
That's what you get. Yep.
Okay, so this
I do have a couple of stories we'll get into later.
Yeah, this lady
My
might be
question.
kind of pulling our leg a little bit. What do you think? I don't know.
Oh, well, she's pulling something. It wasn't a leg.
It was furry. It was an appendage, but it wasn't a leg.
So my question is on these abductions, the Native American lore, which, it's like we said earlier, I'm a little bit of a skeptic. I'm a skeptic that wants to be proven wrong. I put it like that. I think that's a good way to put it.
There you go.
How do we know that it was a Bigfoot that abducted these people and they just didn't fall into a cavern somewhere and never be seen again?
Well, the information that we, the Native Americans hand things down by word of mouth.
Right.
And it's a culture where that was a really big deal. And virtually every Native American tribe in North America, Canada, and most places in the world, natives of the areas all have different words for the same thing,
Right?
especially in North
understand.
America. And the knowledge and the tales handed down are handed down to this day. And, who knows how old some of these stories are.
Right.
All right. With that being said,
Okay.
Jerry, give us a little background on you and Bigfoot. Why you're certainly more knowledgeable than us, but there's a reason we reached out to you and want you on the podcast talk about this subject because you're very knowledgeable of it. Give us some background on some of the things that got you where you are today to be on this podcast.
Well, as a
Nationwide
kid,
with a huge
Yes,
audience.
this is a big deal, Jerry. This is a big deal.
Talking to a lot of people out there.
He's been on.
Worldwide.
He's been on
Worldwide.
what was it? Fox Network. Fox Network.
Fox Nation.
Yeah, Fox
Yep.
stuff. That's small candles compared to us, Jerry. I'm just here to tell you.
I'm honored. When I was a kid, I liked weird things, paranormal. I didn't buy superhero comics. I didn't care about superheroes. I bought the horror comics, Ghost, The Witching Hour, Secrets of Haunted House. But then something changed the whole outlook for me. My grandfather took me to see the movie Legend of Boggy Creek.
I
Has everybody
saw it.
seen that?
Scared the shit out of me.
think I seen it at Webb Theater.
That's where I saw it. Was at Webb Theater.
Dating herself. That's the old theater
Yeah.
way downtown on South Street.
Yeah.
No longer there.
Across from the courthouse.
Yeah.
It used to be. It's now a restaurant. It's a web kitchen, right?
Yes.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
It is.
And so, being an outdoorsman from an early age, my granddaddy had me in the woods from a real early age. I could relate to the movie. And there was a book fair at school, and there lay a book called Bigfoot. I think I was maybe in the 4th grade, 5th grade, called Bigfoot by B. Ann Slate and Alan Berry. And I bought that book, and I read it, and I read it, and I read it. And I took a deep interest in the subject. And again, because I could relate, because I spent so much time in the woods, and it just kind of went from there, and it ebbed and flowed some throughout my life. I was stationed at Fort Bragg, and I checked a book out at the Fort Bragg Library called the Bigfoot Case Book.
I mean, y'all soldiers actually read?
Usually I looked at the pictures.
Yeah.
But, when I really wanted to hurt myself, I would try to read. So I checked this book out called Bigfoot Case Book, and I found a man from Mount Holly, North Carolina, who reported a couple sightings. So I came home on a pass, and I was at my grandfather's. I looked him up in the phone book and called him. Now, this was about 1986, 87.
Yeah, and to lay some geographical grounds, Mount Holly is a small town in Gaston County from where Rodinator lives and Hound Dog and I policed. And you were a master. All right, go ahead.
Yep.
And so I called him, and his wife answered, and I asked to speak with him, and she put him on the phone, and I told him straight up. I told him my name, and that I just had an interest in it, and that I thought I might one day want to write a book. Would he talk to me? And he said, "Is that your real name?" He said, "My friends have made so much fun of me." He said, "I haven't talked about it in a while." And he talked to me about it. And his story, I'll tell you how genuine it was. He started crying when he was talking to me.
Well, out of what? He was scared, or just because of the treatment since then?
I think it was both. So many witnesses report the same template of emotions, and that there's an emotional response to it. And a lot of times when they're retelling what they saw, what they experienced, you'll see these emotions come out. A lot of times they'll cry.
Wow.
And that's
So what was his story? What was his exposure to it? Like, what was his story?
They were in their house, and he didn't live in Mount Holly, he lived out in the rural area. And they saw, and I'm going to try to remember his exact words, a big hairy man, if I remember right.
Well, Rod's a big hairy man.
That's true.
And he went out to confront it, and it ran. The next day, his wife saw it from the kitchen window, and he went out this time, and he was armed. And he said he was afraid, so he started shooting at it, and it started running. And he thinks that he hit it once or twice, but he was using a .22 rifle, so
Probably didn't do a whole lot of damage if it did.
and
did
it got a distance from him and broad jumped a barbed wire fence, and he said, I've never seen it since, and I don't want to see it. And you can read people. You know, by then I'd been in the military a couple of years, so I'm a bull crapologist, just being in the military, and he convinced me.
You can tell he's watched or listened to our podcast.
Yeah. So when you so when you were talking to him, Jerry, and after he told you about the two sightings, did he describe the thing, how big it was? Did it coincide with what you already know? Does it sound right? I hear they're pretty big, right?
He said it was really big, and he estimated its weight to be around 400 or 500 pounds, 7 feet in that neighborhood, 7 feet tall. And he said that the grimace on its face stuck with him, as though it meant him harm.
So he's pretty close. He can see this facial expression.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He
and it's face set up like a human face, like 2 eyes, nose, mouth type thing, ears,
except black, and
except black face. Okay.
A kind of a smush nose, high forebrow, I guess you call it.
Kind of gorilla like.
More human.
Okay.
And I wished at the time I'd had a tape recorder, and I just have scant notes now of our conversation. But he convinced me that what he was telling me, he believed.
Wow.
And that upped my interest to the point I started reading everything I could find. And back in the 80s, it wasn't popular like it is now.
Oh no, back in the 80s, you're probably a nut. But did he say was it like the traditional footprints and stuff?
Was there any evidence, physical evidence that you saw?
His pasture land was all grassy, because I did ask him that, and it was grassy. And he did say that in a day or two he went down to the creek where you could find tracks, and he said, I did not find anything in terms of tracks.
See, now I feel just the opposite. I feel, back in the 80s, we didn't have this technology. We didn't have the cell phones. Everybody's got a camera now. All this technology now, drones, everything. I think it'd be more believable back then. A lot more skeptical now because of all the technology we have. And I think Jerry's going to get into that a little later about some his personal experiences and things as well. But yeah, I think with today's technology, man, how come, Jerry, we ain't got a Bigfoot on camera? Or
there's hundreds of pictures. There's hundreds of videos. Here's the trouble. You don't know which ones are real and which ones are fake. Now, we're drowning in a sea of information now.
Sure.
It seems like... Go ahead,
Hal.
It seems like that every photograph that I've seen of this Bigfoot creature is always very grainy, very long distance, or zoomed in so much that the pixels distort the actual image. And, it's like I said, I'm a skeptic that wants to be a believer, but for me to be a believer, you got to give me some 100% undeniable proof other than a footprint. Basically, got to have a body or a DNA sample.
We got like DNA samples.
Of Bigfoot.
I have a DNA sample.
That lady in the tent has a DNA sample.
She does. Yeah, I sent some hair in about 3 years ago, and it came back as unknown primate.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and if you watch, if you can believe what you watch on TV, and Rebel, now we talked about this prior to the podcast, that I seen where the scientists came in. I think they're more chemists than scientists. Up here in the Appalachian Mountains, and he said that there's a Bigfoot up there. We're going to find his DNA in the water. So they took a sample of a bunch of creeks and everything all around, and it come back and had an unknown primate DNA.
Really?
They had the DNA of that was close to man and close to chimps or whatever, to apes, but it was an unknown primate. They said you got deer here, you got this here, you got this here. No, because they all poop, pee, drink from the water,
right?
And they take the DNA out of that. Yeah, that it was some unknown primate.
Huh.
It's kind of interesting.
Okay. That is interesting.
Well, so are these Bigfoot like 2 arms, 2 legs, usual things? Walk upright, erect spine type things. Yep. 2 feet, right? All that.
Yeah, it's the thousands and thousands of reports. And here's what's so remarkable, guys, is across the world, the similarities that the people will report. You go to some podunk village in Central America, or up in Western Canada or wherever, and you will see similarities in what people report in terms of the descriptions as well as the sounds they hear. And that's one of the things that made me start taking this very seriously when I really started doing the reading. And going back to Hound Dog's question earlier, it's a subject that's so blasé now, and it's run of the mill. You can find anything you want to on YouTube, watch any show. There's some decent pictures out there. It's you just got to get on there and dig, and then you run into, well, is this real? Is this fake? You can't because you can't trust anybody.
I guess my next thing I would ask is, so what do they eat? And if they eat meat and stuff, did they ever find carcasses around, or is it just like, are they just omnivores, carnivores? Are they a mixture? Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, they're a mixture. They're, according to the reports, omnivores, and the reports that have come in on what kind of meat, at least in the eastern United States, deer.
They kill deer.
They kill deer, according to the witnesses.
Nice.
And like I said, we got, and of course you can't compare a 800 pound, 7 foot primate to a bear, but bear's around 400 pounds, man. And bears survive well up in these mountains. Down the coast where Reggie's Hound Dog's at. The bear everywhere, and they're surviving to the point now that they increased their hunting onto bear sanctuaries because the bear is getting so overpopulated. So they're doing well. So they're eating stuff that I guess another primate could eat.
Yeah, and bears are kind of elusive. You see them occasionally, but like you said, Slow, you haven't seen one yet, right?
Well, I've seen 14 in the wild. I'm going to talk about that too, about my hiking and camping experiences. But I've never.
He was talking
about. Are you talking about Bigfoot or bears?
No, I was kind of comparing the Bigfoot hound to bears. How they can be just rumbling around. They're so big, and yet you can't even see them until they're right up on you, or they're somewhere close. Like how stealthy they are. Yeah, I was wondering if the Bigfoot had that kind of shit going on. He could be real stealthy and be right in front of you. I heard people say they smell real bad too, Jerry. Is that when they see him? Is there a smell?
That's something that I have personally experienced.
Oh, let me hear it.
On more than one occasion, and it is a smell that you cannot describe.
Now, you're not talking about me, right?
No,
right.
No. You
Hound dog after 6 hours of yard work.
You're not there yet.
Yeah, we're all saying kind of close.
Slow weed eating for 3 hours.
Yeah.
It's a smell that when you smell it, you'll never forget it. You'll never forget
like
the
death.
odor.
Like death and police.
It's almost worse than death in some respects. The smell.
That got us all quiet, didn't it?
Yeah, I'm just trying to imagine.
And again, that's something that I can personally tell you that I experienced.
Well, give us the story, the backstory on that.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll go with the first time that I ever smelled it.
You always remember your first.
Yes, you do. That is true. Was in the South Mountains area there in northwest Cleveland County, and it came out of nowhere. I mean, I wasn't out looking. I'm never really out looking for stuff, but the smell just wafted in from a creek bottom. The wind was blowing from the south toward us, and it was sickening. And I told my wife, I said, that's got to be the smell, because I've never smelled anything like it.
So it was a smell without a sighting?
Right.
I got you. Okay.
Yeah, and that's funny. Now, you mentioned South Mountains, and I didn't think about this during dinner. I was talking earlier out in the yard. But, I'm an avid hiker, camper, and I'm in South Mountains, and I come across what I think might have been a Bigfoot structure. Mm-hmm. It could be man-made, but, a lot of times I get off trail, and I came in, I took tons of pictures of it. Why, Hound Dog?
I don't believe in that. I don't believe that at all. I mean, you probably
I'm sure I sent pictures to you a long time ago about it. I'm going to dig those up.
You did. Yeah, you did. And I just.
But that's up on South Mountains.
Well, that may kind of tie in with before the smell, my actual first personal experience with anything related to this was as I hiked these new areas after I moved into that area. I found dozens of these trees. You're talking 6 inches in diameter. And over time, what you will find is the trees about eye level, a little higher, around 6 foot or so, broken. And when a tree is broken while it's living, while it's green, you can tell from the splintering, and it tries to hold together. And these trees were broken over. And after I saw 8 or 10 of those, I emailed a guy who wrote some books, and his name was Lyle Blackburn. And I said, hey, this is just a shot in the dark, but tell me about these trees I'm finding. And he said that they all point toward water. And he was exactly right.
What does that mean?
You're talking about just tree breaks, right? Not the structures.
Tree breaks.
Oh, the tree breaks towards
yes.
water?
Toward
So
the
where
nearest
water
body
is.
of water. And I actually, there was several that I remembered that was definitely true. But so I retraced a couple of my hikes, and he was right. Every single one of them pointed toward the nearest body of water.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Now, how high are these breaks? Are they down low? Like
About 6 feet.
so, a regular Joe couldn't just make that break that particular height.
A regular Joe can't break a green tree that big. I mean, that takes a tremendous amount of force.
Jerry, I used to be on the
So-
SWAT team. Okay,
So when I hear this, the thing that comes to my mind immediately is wind shears. Wind shears can force an airplane out of the sky, as it did in Charlotte. In the 80s, I think it was. So that's where my mind goes to is wind shear.
What you would see in that case is a lane cut through the woods with many, many trees.
Not necessarily.
And when you
I
have
think
a
if
group,
the
I
wind
don't
shear
think-
just comes straight down like this, I mean, it wouldn't have to be a lane.
say you've got a group of younger ash trees around 6 inches in diameter, and they tend to grow in clusters, and you only have one that's broken because the wind. That's where my mind would go to. But the more that I saw it, and again, I've spent a lot of time in the woods. My experience tells me that you're going to see more than one tree. So, and I'm not saying that I have the answer to it, but I can tell you that it's real because I've seen it a lot.
Yeah,
in very remote areas.
Why do you think they break the tree towards the water? Like, what is that about?
Yeah, there's so many theories of what
is
different
there?
people say. Directional aids, warnings.
Oh, okay.
yeah, and
If
I
I'm not
kind of
mistaken. Go ahead, Sly.
wait. Oh, I kind of agree with Jerry here. I think if it's wind shear or snow load, you're going to have multiple trees. Or in a bad weather situation, multiple trees instead of just that one particular green tree, right?
Yeah, they're alive. They're alive when they're broken.
Yeah.
And broken, not cut. So
Right.
that would take that would take some strength.
And they're broken in a height that they're not. If
8 feet
a
tall,
human-
you're breaking it
yeah.
at 6. It's like me breaking a tree at 4.
Yeah, that's
feet
what I'm saying.
tall or
Yeah,
something.
so
yeah. Fine. Huh.
I do find those interesting, and I might dig up now. I'll shoot you pictures of that structure. I've gone buried
Okay.
somewhere, but
Yeah.
I've
on
never
the
personally
structures.
seen that type of thing, but I've seen pictures of people, and I'm up in the air on that. I'm not sure one way or the other.
and it could have been human. It's way out of the middle of nowhere, but I found it because somebody else came along and done that. And the amount of time it had taken, it was just unbelievable. You've got probably seriously tree trunks this big around 8 feet in the air, crossing each other, hanging from one tree and leaning on another. And their root balls are not just like cut. These are. I'll shoot all you guys pictures when I find them.
And so, has playing off a little bit more just of what I would think, in layman's terms, a person would think. Where do they live? Are they cave dwelling type things? Do they just lay out wherever? Has anybody ever found like a Bigfoot area where they might come together or live or something like that?
Do they
Or are they
climb
just
trees?
roamers?
What'd you say? Did you say bloomers? What'd you say, Reggie?
No, so do they climb trees?
Oh,
Yeah, now
Where'd I hear
there's a whole lot in the if you start reading accounts from up in the Ohio area of people spotting this type of thing in the trees. But I forgot the first question because my
Anything
brain,
about their homes, so to speak, where they live, where they
so you
might
guys,
where they
are
might
they
camp.
nomadic or are they home dwellers?
Yeah,
I think
like
they're
when they lay down to lay somewhere, do they lay the same place all the time? Like, do they have a home
they would
base,
have to be
so
nomadic.
to speak, whatever that would look at like?
I think they move with the season. That's my personal
They
opinion.
move it back. You
That's
said?
not anything I can necessarily prove.
That's
Yeah, and
logical.
If they weren't hibernators like bears, they would have to move.
Yeah, that's very
follow the
logical they do
seasons.
that.
I can tell you what the old timers in the South Mountain areas have told me. They say that in the In the winter, they come off the mountain, and in the summer, they go up to higher altitudes.
Kind of like elk.
Yeah.
They're snowbirding, like Florida to the
Exactly.
mountains.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
If they're driving a car, man, if I get behind them, I gotta start watching.
They got a
watching
Florida plate. If they got a Florida plate,
I
Slow.
gotta watch
One
that
of them
start blowing horns
Bigfoot.
at.
Move
Yeah.
on up here.
Wow.
That
Okay,
damn Bigfoot
okay.
done moved to the mountains from Florida.
Oh my goodness. I wonder. Anything on reproduction with them? Do they have one kid, or do they have like a litter? Anything like that? Do you know anything about that?
I have read reports spanning the years where they've been spotted with one smaller one or several. I think they're kind of like humans. They can have one or two triplets.
One shot, one kid, or one shot pair of twins, something like that.
I think it's more of they have one at a time, probably
One at a time, like us.
if we apply the template of the primates of the world,
Right. I
probably
got you.
one at a time.
Playing off humans and gorillas, stuff like that.
All right.
I got you.
It's interesting. So, what are they? Wonder if they are. What's what I'm trying? Social with each other.
Well, if they
And
got
again,
kids, they
I-
gotta
I-
be.
They have kids.
Yeah, they gotta be.
He was social with the lady in the tent. I don't want to keep bringing that up, but this
Very
Well, you know, wonder if they travel like little pods or groups or have you on a tribes, however you want to label it.
I've
As
never
opposed to
heard.
just
I've
being-
never heard anybody say, Jerry, that they've seen two at one time. I've always heard them say they see one. Has there been anybody that saw two of them walking together?
Yeah, there's reports where they've encountered as many as 5, 6.
Holy,
And a couple of the more frightening encounters that I've run across were where the person making the report felt like they had surrounded them. And
Oh, wow.
were moving in on, in other words, operating as a group, as a team.
right?
Wow.
Huh? Has there been anybody who's reported a sighting that's actually been attacked by one or made contact with them, or do they always try to avoid humans?
No, there's a number of reports where humans were the target of aggression and assault.
Wow.
Not so much in our part of the country, but if you remember on Legend of Boggy Creek, there was some violence shown, according to the reports of the people that they based the film off of. But I
Right.
personally, after collecting stories now for 3 years in the South Mountains area, I've never heard one report of a person being attacked.
And Jerry, why are you collecting these stories?
Okay, it's a little bit of a long story, but it's a good one. You'll appreciate.
Can we
this,
drink
guys.
while you're telling?
Absolutely.
All right, go on.
Fantastic.
Bottoms up.
Cheers.
I went to work at a small store there in that part of, in my part of North Carolina. And the lady that I went to work for knew that I had studied this stuff and I had met people and I had a lot of information. And so lo and behold, Fox Network called her and they said, we're wanting to come do a story on Nobby. She said, will you talk to him? And I said, let me think about it. Let me talk to him. And I agreed. I said, okay, I'll do this, but I would prefer to be silhouetted and I would prefer my voice be disguised. They came and they shot
disguised.
No, it was not.
Witness
Was not
protection.
disguised.
And it aired in January of 21, and they did silhouette me, but they did not disguise my voice. Now you will never. I'm told you will never forget my voice.
Oh, I
And
never.
everybody around the whole area knew it was me. The people that didn't watch the documentary, word spreads in a place like
Oh yeah.
where I live.
Small
And
town.
Here's what happened. People started coming to the store on my shift to talk about their encounters.
Really?
1, 2, 3, 4, and the next thing I know, I have a legal pad filled up, and I guaranteed them anonymity. I said I will not betray what you're telling me because these people, some of them, had never talked to anyone outside their own family about this stuff, and why they came to me, I don't know. I don't have an answer for that. And the stories are remarkable, and that's what I'm going to base most of my book off of that I'm working on. And
Nice.
that's when I've always been interested in people's personal testimony, but then this came along, and it was like I said earlier. And you guys were cops; you can read people. I'm going to call 80% of the stories that were told to me as I stood and looked these folks in the eyes. They believed what they were telling me. There was the 20% that thought they were going to come up there and blow smoke up my rear end.
Right.
And I passed them all,
Right. And I like how you put that 80% believed what they were telling you.
Yes.
Meaning they think they saw what they were really adamant. They think they saw a Bigfoot.
No,
They seen something. Yeah.
They knew
whether
they saw
it was or
something.
not.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
And we're talking
I believe that too. Yeah.
We're talking an age range of people from teenagers whose report was something that happened recently. I had one elderly couple come to me the day after they had been going up a road called Dirty Ankle Road. Yeah, we have a road named Dirty Ankle Road.
Dirty Ankle.
Elderly couple in their late 70s, early 80s. And I said, can I help you? He said, I want to talk to you in a minute. And I knew where it was going. And the store emptied, and he leaned forward and real quietly, as his wife stood in the background, he said, we were going up Dirty Ankle Road last night, and it was dark. And we saw a silhouette beside the road, and it was big. And as we got closer, you could tell that it turned its body, and the headlights hit its eyes, and they were red. It was red eye shine, which is not unheard of in nature. I said, how big do you think it was? He's 7-8 feet. And his wife standing in the background, by then her hands were shaking, and it was that emotional response. And she said, we'll never be out driving around here ever again after dark.
Oh, wow.
But anyway, other witnesses who were up in their 80s, stories from back when they were little, a few of them relayed to me stories, older guys who told me what their grandfathers told them. So we're going back, to the first quarter of the 1900s with this stuff.
Okay.
Wow. Those old people just say they saw it and it ran off, or did they just pass by in the car?
It didn't run. It turned, and he said he accelerated.
They just drove by and went
And
on
it did
by.
not. It didn't offer to do anything but stand there.
Wow.
So
Well, I'll tell you too. Go ahead, Hound Dog.
No, you go ahead.
Well, I'll tell you, I camp a lot, hike a lot, seen 14 bears in the wild. And every time I seen a bear, I'm 100% sure it was a bear. A lot of times people will say, well, what you probably seen was a bear. I never seen a bear and not think, well, what was that? Could that possibly been a bear? It was a bear.
Right.
I can tell 100% sure it was a bear.
Right. Right.
Walk like a bear.
And there's
act
no
like a
reason
bear.
there's no reason those people would say, it could have been a bear. They didn't say that. They said this thing was 7 feet tall.
Yeah.
And turned its body, there's never any ambiguity, right? These people think, they never say it could have been a bear. They always saying it wasn't a bear.
And I will ask those questions.
Yeah.
And they usually would indulge me. And these are the type of people that's lived in the country their whole life. And they'll know a bear if they see it. I have to trust that.
And these people you talk to had nothing to gain.
Zero.
They just told you the story and then left the store.
And his wife, I felt bad for her. She was so upset.
Yeah.
Bringing her little wrinkled hands, and she finally spoke up and said, we'll never go out again after dark, ever.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
pretty
touching
scary.
right there, actually.
That could be like a book, The Legend of Dirty Ankle Road.
Dirty ankle.
Dirty Ankle's one of the hot spots.
That could be in Gastonia.
That's a cool title.
It is a cool title.
Road. Yeah.
Yeah, but see, with me being the skeptic that I am, like I've said it 100 times already in this podcast, if I'm not mistaken, and correct me if I'm wrong, because you guys know way more
we
about this
always
stuff
do.
than I do. Yeah, you always do. There are certain animals that do have red eye shine.
Right.
And I think, if I'm not mistaken, coyote might be one of them.
Coyote's got green eye shine.
Okay.
You'll find the red and the orange colored eye shine in big cats and bobcats
Okay, bobcats. Okay.
and foxes.
Okay. Now, could this red eye shine be a bobcat or a fox sitting up on a ledge or a rock that's about 7 foot tall? I mean, I hate to be the guy that brings this a Debbie Downer, but that's the cop in me. I need the damn facts.
Well,
There
these
ain't
questions,
there ain't
these
no
are questions
7-foot
that need
coyote,
to-
though.
Right. Well, these are questions
That'd be a big damn
hound dog
coyote.
that need to be asked. And
I agree with you too on that, Hound Dog. It's night, these backcountry roads.
And they're 80
we've
years
ridden
old.
these up here. 1 o'clock in
we
the
have.
morning.
We
And
have.
it's dark and it's kind of, it could be a little spooky if you allowed
Yeah.
it to be.
Yep. If you let it be spooky as hell
So
up
your
there on Shootout
imagination
Mountain.
can run wild on certain things.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And another thing, did you ask this particular couple that if they had any prior experience of anything like that at all in their 80s plus years on the earth?
Now, of course, the wife didn't speak to it, but he said that he had heard stories from his
Heard, but he's never experienced anything
his family,
himself.
his father, his grandfather. But he said that was his first and he said, frankly, he said, I wasn't sure I believed any of it, but I do now. And it would be really hard to mistake in this particular instance. The fox would have had the fox or a bobcat would have had to been significantly up in the air. But you take every account that people give you, just like you did when you were cops, and you have to measure each account with its own merits and demerits.
Well, and I tell you, and Hound Dog, Rodinator, you probably can contest this as well. I found out, especially one of the detectives, there's 3 stories. The bad guy.
3 sides. 3 sides.
Okay, 3 sides. What can't be stories, Hound Dog?
3
He had to
sides to
correct
every
you.
story.
You correct him all the time. He had to correct your ass.
Oh,
3
me?
sides.
Yeah.
There's 3
3
sides
sides.
to every story.
You
He's
got
firing back at you.
you got the victim, you got the suspect story, and you got the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not only that, but you can have, 20 people see the same accident and they have 20 different stories on the same accident.
Right. Yeah.
So, but the thing that, and I'm pushing to want to believe this stuff because I think it's cool as shit. An 80-year-old couple who's lived in the mountains their whole life and their family's been in the mountains, generations have been in the mountains, and they come to you and say, for the first time ever, we heard all the stories, but we never really believed it. And then I see this thing. I just have a hard time believing that whether they're 80 or not. Seeing something 7 feet tall. How do you explain something 7 feet tall? What's 7 feet tall that, would blade its body like that? A bear could be, I guess, but they've seen bears. Like, I don't know how they could mistaken. That's my thing. Like, when you have all these people saying it, are they all in cahoots? Are they all making a story? They're getting nothing from it. Like you said, this lady was scared to death. Maybe she missaw something. I don't know, but they think they really saw one, as you said before. And that's the thing that gets me is because I know if I saw something like that, you guys said I was crazy, I'd be pissed off. I'm like, I know what the hell I saw. I know what a 7-foot hairy mother effer is and compared to a bear. Everybody knows what a bear is. He's on all fours. He'll get up occasionally and then get back down. But something walking upright like that, I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
7 feet tall, 8 feet tall.
And right
But,
by the road.
any investigator worth of shit, they're not going to call out somebody when they tell them something. They're just going to go on and believe it. Whether in the back of your mind, like, yeah, it's crazy as hell.
Well, and let me say this.
But you'll never call somebody out when they do that. That's terrible investigation skills.
The normal Joe, not the hiker, the camper, just a normal Joe. If he sees any type of wildlife, he's going to see it by the road. They're not out in the middle of the woods. They're not out, like some of us do.
Right.
If they see a possum, raccoon, Bigfoot, it's going to be by the road because that's
They were in
just
a
what
car.
yeah,
Yeah, they were in a car. Yeah.
they're just going from A to B.
Right.
And the stories that I've collected run the gambit between people being deep into the South Mountains, hunting, driving on the main road or in their own yard or just in the woods for a stroll. It's a really good eclectic collection of people's stories that I've been fortunate enough to get.
Wow. Yeah.
That is, I like
always
that is cool.
Tended not to cut people slack back at a certain point pre something that happened to my wife and I. And I tended to just be a hardcore skeptic. And yeah, they're lying. I know they're lying.
Well, now you said something happened to your wife and you.
Yes.
Well, can you deliberate on that?
We were in that area, and we turned onto a road that is more of a backcountry road.
And this is South Mountains area.
In the South Mountains area. And by the way, do you know how big the South Mountains are?
Big.
100,000 acres.
Yeah.
And that's
I knew it
not
was something.
And that's not taking into account the number of acreage of wilderness on the outlying areas in Burke, Cleveland, Rutherford County, on into McDowell County. So it's a big area. If I wanted to disappear into those woods with a group, we could do it and never be seen.
When we're leaving.
When you want to.
Can I finish this drink first?
Sure. But
Hey, take it with you. You might need it.
Yeah.
I need it for courage before I go, Hound Dog.
And again, I can't look you guys in the face and say, I know what that was. But as we made the turn, the lights swept the cornfield. And this was in late August 2017. And our headlights caught a silhouette. Now, I was in the Army, 4 years active, another 9 in the Reserves and National Guard. I was a forward artillery observer, trained observer. And forward observers are really good at estimating height, width, distance.
Oh, you got to be.
And so the headlights caught the silhouette standing just outside the corn. And this happened within a split second. And thank the Lord my wife was with me, so I have a credible witness. Crazy Jerry, I don't know.
You're saying you're not credible.
Crazy, I don't know what to tell you. But my wife was with me, and she said, "What did we just see?" And I stopped. As we just went past it, we could still catch it a little bit in the peripherals with the peripheral of the headlights. And it stepped into the corn. And I backed the car up and shined the headlights onto the corn. And I don't know, maybe took 3 or 4 seconds, but we couldn't see anything. And I'll be honest with you, fellas, I wasn't going in that corn on foot. And we sat there a minute. We both saw what we saw. It was abnormally large. I'm going to estimate at minimum 7.5, maybe 8 feet. It was overwhelming at the time because you don't expect to see something like that.
Yeah, give us more description. Right. 7, 8 feet. What else?
We had the windows up. It was still warm, air conditioned. We didn't catch any scent or anything. But then again, it happened like that. And a lot of the reports that I've collected, as well as reports you'll read about, happened in a split second. People didn't have time to react. That changed my point of view to the extent of I'm going to tell this story to people and they're going to think I'm crazy. And so I kind of became more empathetic to people as they told their stories.
Right.
And then there was in November of 2021, November 2021, a group wanted me to take them as a guide to go hiking and camping. And we went deep into the woods.
Oh, you say a group. Is this just a group of just regular people? Or?
4 other people. All but one were experienced outdoorsmen.
Now, was this a let's go try and find Bigfoot camping thing, or just a regular camping trip, or
this
what?
Was we want to see if we can hear something or see something.
All right. So you're going out there for research.
I said, here's what we do. We go out and we remain static. Then we go out and we take a night hike. That's what's going to happen. I didn't expect anything. But we left out on a night hike and hiked a ridge. We got on top of the ridge, and one of the guys said, "Hey, I want to do a tree knock." I said, "Well, find you a piece of wood." And I was being a little sarcastic because I grew up with this guy. I said, knock on a tree. And he did. And we got this from down the hill. And that's a creek bottom that's so thick that if you want to get through it, you've got to know your way through it. And that was pretty remarkable. But what happened about 20 minutes later is when I got scared for the first time. We did our night hike. We went to our termination point, turned around, and we started retracing our steps. And as we were going down the western side of the ridge, you could hear, and again, this is a split-second thing, coming through the trees, and you could directionally hear that it was a noise of something traveling through the tops of the trees. And it hit between, I was doing in the rear, making sure we didn't lose anybody. And it hit between me and the guy in front of me, and it was a rock. And it was 12, 13 pounds.
Good grief.
Had it hit one of us, we would have been going to the ER or possibly the funeral home.
Oh, yeah. It'd have killed you.
We got back to camp, and one of the guys, the one that was most green-footed or tender-footed, that's the word in the Boy Scouts, right? Tenderfooted.
Yeah, tenderfooted.
He said, man, I want you to get me out of these woods now.
Mama.
And so one of the other guys who he had already announced he wasn't staying overnight, I said, you want to go ahead and walk with us? Walked them out of the woods. Yes. And then I had to walk. They left. and then I had to walk back in because I left the other 2 guys to guard our camp. That was a long hike by myself that night.
Can we say, yeah?
Because rocks being thrown are real. I can't tell you what threw it. I didn't see it with my own eyes. But I can tell you that the rock was definitely thrown and that it was huge. And it came in like a mortar round, not like a baseball throw.
Okay.
So a trajectory.
Wow.
Like that.
Right.
I can't explain that, but I can promise you, as I sit here, and that happened.
So how far
As
did you have
well
to
as-
go back to meet up with the other people? You just hiking by yourself. So
When I hiked them out and then I came back to my camp,
yeah.
it was about 1,000 meters, 1,200 meters, something like that.
Break that down. Wait, how many miles or feet, maybe?
A meter
3,000
is,
feet.
Listen to the
3,000 feet.
captain.
yeah. A meter is 3.14
Right here.
feet. So it's roughly a yard. So I could have said yards, but that's, the military ingrains meters.
Right.
So the faster, how long did it take you to get there? Like 2 or 3 steps, and you were back at camp.
Oh, I was
were
on
high
high alert, and I had adrenaline on my side.
Now, no, you can't run with tears in your eyes.
You can't keep on wiping them away.
What's this other theory, Jerry, about Bigfoot's being possibly aliens? You heard anything about that?
I heard there's a lot been said about that, especially since Skinwalker Ranch came out.
All right. Can I hold you right there?
Sure.
Jerry, you're driven quite a ways to be here tonight. Do you feel like you're do another podcast?
Oh yeah, I'm not in a hurry. I'm retired.
Oh, we all retired, man. Yeah, you're right. You're right where you need to be. All right, guys, we're at 56 minutes into the show here. Let's close this out and do a part 2 if that's okay with you. You guys cool with that? You guys
man.
got time for that another
Let's
night?
roll. Let's roll with it.
All right, man. So at the time we're at, man, we're gonna come back on and what you just touched on. I think it's an excellent time to break and go to a new show because it's kind of a little different topic what we've been covering.
So stay tuned.
Stay tuned. So Joe, you have any shout outs? Everybody you want to talk to right now is your mic.
Shout out to my beautiful wife. Shout out my buddy Scoot and his wife Reagan, and a shout out to my boy Bubba down in Eastern North Carolina.
You named your buddy's wife. You named Bubba, but you didn't name your wife.
With Nancy. And let me do a shout out to the guys at Dirty South Squatching. That's the name of the group that's
Dirty
been helping
South
me out.
Squatching.
Yep. And I want to throw a shout out to Dirty Ankle Road.
Dirty Ankle Road.
That's what I want to do.
Cheers.
Dirty Ankle
With that being
Road.
said, now this group said that they have a website or something so people can find them.
A Facebook page, but it's private. You can find some stuff on YouTube though. You can find stuff on YouTube.
All right, well, good deal, guys. Y'all got
Roger
anything
that.
else before we close up?
Nope. Gonna make a drink and I'll be back.
Yeah,
All right, man.
Let's drink about it and drink responsibly.
Yeah.
Special thanks to you, Jerry, for being here. I appreciate you taking the time to come up and seeing us, hanging out with us here in the studio.
My pleasure.
Yes, sir.
Also, special thanks to Black Rifle Training Group, Law Enforcement Today at lawenforcementtoday.com, Boone's Bourbon Hound Dog.
Boone's
Drink
Bourbon
it.
by Boone's
Drink
Bourbon.
Boone's
Yeah,
Bourbon.
subliminal message.
That's what the problem
And
is.
Sleep in Heavenly Peace, nonprofit organization doing great things for kids by providing them beds. We appreciate the great job you're doing.
Absolutely.
Guys, I enjoyed it.
Man, that went quick.
Man, too quick. Yeah, we got 1,000 other questions stuff to cover on this.
See you on the other side.
I ain't even talked about aliens yet.